this is really a yes or no question.
Yep.
Carolyn Ellison says you knew that FTX funds were being funneled to Alameda. Did you know that? If Alameda is borrowing the money that belongs to FTX depositors, that's a bright red line, isn't it?
There are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are happening.
But not here. Here it says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
Can't be loaned.
This is Sam Bankman-Fried, former CEO of FTX. In 2021, FTX was one of the largest, most prominent cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. SBF was hailed as a super genius crypto wonderkind, written up in Fortune, The Financial Review, Forbes, Super Bowl ads.
It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
I don't think so.
Naming stadiums, Steph Curry.
I'm thrilled to be announcing partnering with FTX.
Rubbing elbows with policymakers and sharing private stages with the political elite.
We did a lot of things to try and bolster our reputation, to try and, help our brand.
But in the early hours of November 11th, 2022, it all came crashing down. FTX halted user withdrawals. The company filed for bankruptcy. Users are still not able to access their funds today, and many have little hope of ever seeing their crypto assets again. Where is the money? Who is at fault? See, Sam Bankman-Fried would have you believe that this is all just a big mistake. Like the legend of Icarus, a good-intentioned visionary who just flew too close to the sun. SBF says it was his lack of experience and effort, and if he just would have devoted more attention to risk management, everything at FTX would be fine.
You said one of your great talents in a podcast was managing risk.
That's right. And
well, it's obviously wrong.
Well, I think that there's something maybe even deeper wrong there, which was I wasn't even trying. Like, I wasn't spending any time or effort trying to manage risk on FTX, and that obviously
that's
a
stunning admission.
What?
That's a pretty stunning admission.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, what happened. Honestly, if I look back on myself, I think I got a little cocky, maybe more than a little bit, and I think part of me, felt like we'd made it.
He, like the users who lost their funds, also wants to find out what really happened and who really did it. Of course, for those of us who have been following the story of SBF closely, like us, subscribe to Altcoin Daily. We post one video every day, keeping you informed on the entire cryptocurrency market. We know that the story of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX is a lot more like Bernie Madoff than he would want you or I to think.
A lot of people look at you and see Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's who I am at all, but I understand why they're saying that. People lost money, and people lost a lot of money. And I mean, at the end of the day, look, there's a question of what happened and why, and who did what caused the meltdown. And I think that reads very differently, right? When you look at the classic Bernie Madoff story, there was no real business there. The whole thing, as I understand it, I think was just one big Ponzi scheme, right? FTX, that was a real business.
Alameda, the investment and trading arm of FTX, which Sam Bankman-Fried owned, by all accounts, was siphoning off and funneling FTX user funds into Alameda and trading with them, stealing customer funds, trading with customer money, trading against users, Alameda losing that customer money by trading with leverage, and then when FTX users needed to withdraw their money, they couldn't because the funds they saw in their FTX account were never really there in the first place. It takes Sam Bankman-Fried over 5 minutes to answer this simple yes or no question. Watch Sam Bankman-Fried's body language. Pay very close attention. Tell me what you think below, and stay until the very end of the clip when he is finally forced to answer yes or no. Did Sam Bankman-Fried know that FTX user funds were being funneled to Alameda?
One of the reasons FTX went bankrupt is because FTX deposits were used to pay Alameda's creditors. Carolyn Ellison said you knew about that. Is that true?
Best I can tell, Alameda did have a big position open on FTX. That position, I think, was very over collateralized a year ago. There was a total market collapse, and specifically a large correlated collapse in its assets, over the last month, and to some extent over the last year, that threatened that position quite a bit. And I think that's, as best I understand, a lot of what happened there.
I am no cryptocurrency expert. I'm no finance expert, but I don't think you answered my question. I was asking, did you know that FTX deposits were used to pay off Alameda creditors?
I don't know of FTX deposits being used to pay off Alameda creditors. Are you, which creditors are you referring to?
Carolyn Ellison said that you all knew that these funds were put into Alameda. They were the funds owned by your depositors.
So I can't speak for who knew what. A lot of the customers on FTX did have, borrows either, in dollars or Bitcoin or euros.
But as you know, the FTX terms of service tell the people who signed up, none of the digital assets in your account are the property of or shall be or may be loaned to FTX trading. But you're saying that happened.
My understanding is a few things happened. The first is there is a margin trading facility on FTX by which users can lend out funds, by which other users borrow funds. And so there are explicit cases where there is, margin extended, where there is borrow lending.
If Alameda is borrowing the money that belongs to FTX depositors, that's a bright red line, isn't it?
There are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are happening.
But not here. Here it says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
There existed a borrow lending facility on FTX. And I think that's probably covered, I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere else in the terms of service.
But they'd have to approve of that. They're saying they didn't approve of it here. They're saying you approved of it.
If you rewind to the beginning of FTX, where some customers were I think in line with sort of existing relationships that they've had, at least in some cases, wiring money straight to Alameda Research in order to trade on FTX.
So you do know, and you did know, that FTX deposits were being funneled to Alameda.
So I was vaguely aware that that was how some wires were being sent in the first place.
Didn't that set off alarm bells in your head?
So there are a lot of people who are involved in that process. And look, I really deeply wish that I had taken a lot more responsibility for understanding what the details were of what was going on there. I knew that legal was involved. I knew that other groups at the company were involved, that there were agreements drafted up.
But you're ultimately responsible.
And ultimately, absolutely, I should have been on top of this, and I feel really, really bad and regretful that I wasn't. And a lot of people got hurt, and that's on me.
I do want to move on, but just finally on this. This is really a yes or no question. Carolyn Ellison says you knew that FTX funds were being funneled to Alameda. Did you know that?
I knew that there is an open margin position there, and that involved.
I know, but that's not what I'm
borrow.
asking. If she's in court and you're in court and she's under oath and you're under oath and you're asked, did you know that these funds were being funneled to Alameda, what is your answer?
I did not know that there is any improper use of customer funds.
So is SBF making an even bigger mistake now, doing all this press, doing all these interviews? Maybe, but Sam isn't behaving like a renegade who's ignoring the advice of his lawyers. He's actually behaving like a world-class crisis management firm and legal team constructing a very specific and deliberate public narrative. He's not admitting to fraud. He's not admitting to commingling deposits. He's not admitting to inside knowledge of Alameda. He is repeating the same claim over and over. Alameda, at arm's length, let the margin position grow too big, and a failure of risk management took the firm down. By the way, SBF, in his continued effort to gain public sympathy, is also claiming he's not a billionaire anymore. In fact, he says, like you, he lost all his money, and now he's down to just $100,000 in his bank account.
To my knowledge, I have basically nothing left. Basically everything I had was invested in the business. I expect I'm gonna have nothing at the end of this. I think I had $100,000 left in my bank account last I checked, and I think I have, one credit card working with that right now.
Earlier this summer, you thought you had, what, 32 billion?
Probably 20, but a whole lot more than I do now.
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah, it's been a really humbling fall in a lot of ways.
Do you believe him? Because I wonder, is SBF hiding money in private crypto wallets that we don't know about? Comment your thoughts below. Follow us on Twitter. This is a developing story. Subscribe to our channel. By the way, if you're planning to attend Bitcoin Conference 2023, let's hang out. It's going to be epic. Use code Altcoin Daily, 10% off. This is the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world. Use code Altcoin Daily, 10% off. See you there. We will continue to keep you updated on everything crypto.